A hidalgo or a fidalgo is a member of the Spanish or Portuguese nobility. The feminine forms of the terms are hidalga in Spanish, and fidalga in Portuguese and Galician. In popular usage, the term hidalgo identifies a nobleman without a hereditary title. In practice, hidalgos were exempted from paying taxes, yet owned little real property. Etymology. Since the 12th century, the phrase fidalgo and its contraction fidalgo were used in the Kingdom of Castile and in the Kingdom of Portugal to identify a type of nobility. In Portugal, the cognate remained fidalga, which identified nobles of a similar status to a hidalgo in Spain. In the Kingdom of Aragon, the infanzon was the noble counterpart of the Castilian hidalgo. The pronunciation changes in Spanish occurred during the late Middle Ages. The letter F sounding was lost, and replaced with the letter H. Spelling and pronunciation of hidalgo. In the Spanish language of that period, in the phrase hijo de algar, the word algo denotes riches. Therefore, hidalgo was synonymous with noble and with rico hombre. In time, the term included the lower-ranking gentry, the untitled, lower stratum of the nobility who were exempted from taxation. The Siete Partidos suggests that the word hidalgo derives from italico, a man with full Roman citizenship. There is no evidence for another popular false etymology that hidalgo is a corruption for hijo de godo. Every noble was called godo in the kingdoms of Leon, Galicia, Portugal and Castile, as descendants of those from the Visigothic kingdom of Toledo. The godo usage became common in the 11th century, when titles of nobility became common, and it remains a common and pejorative usage in rural regions of Iberia. In the previous Visigoth monarchies, the condition of the hidalgo was that of a freeman without land wealth, but with the nobleman's rights to wear arms and to be exempt from taxation. In compensation for military service, the military obligation and the social condition remained in force by the fueros law. The Goths used the terms hidalgo and vesi to mean the good men. In Old Castile, the byname hidalgo was used alternatively with the toponymical term vesi. Origins. The hidalgia has its origins in fighting men of the Reconquista. By the 10th century, the term infanzon appears in Asturian Leonese documents as a synonym for the Spanish and medieval Latin terms caballero and miles. These infanzones were vassals of the great magnates and prelates and ran their estates for the most petty nobility. In these first centuries it was still possible to become a mile simply by being able to provide and afford the costs of mounted military service. Only by the mid-12th century did the ranks of the knights begin to be, in theory, closed by lineage. In the frontier towns that were created as the Christian kingdoms pushed into Muslim land, the caballeros, and not the magnates who often were far away, came to dominate politics, society and cultural patronage. For the ranks were also drawn the representatives of the towns and cities when the Cortes were convened by kings. It was in the 12th century that this class, along with the upper nobility, began to be referred to as hidalgos. Types. Hidalgos de sangre are those for whom there is no memory of its origin and there is no knowledge of any document mentioning a royal grant, which obscurity is universally praised even more than those noblemen who know otherwise their origin, or in other words, an immemorial noble. When challenged, an hidalgo de sangre may obtain a judicial sentence validating his nobility from the royal chancellery of Valladolid de Granada. if he can prove that it has been accepted local society and custom. In this case, the resulting legal document that verifies his nobility is called the Carta Ejecutoria de Hidalgia. To qualify as an hidalgo salariegard, one had to prove that all four of one's grandparents were hidalgos. Hidalgos salariegos were regarded as the most noble and treated with the most respect. Hidalgos de privilegio and hidalgos de real provision entail a grant of nobility from His Majesty the King of Spain in his position as monarch, or from his position as protector of a military confraternity or hermandad such as the Noble Company of Knights Crossbowmen of St. Philip and St. James. Hidalgo de Bragueta obtained tax exemption for having 7 sons in legal matrimony. In Asturias, Cantabria and other regions of Spain, every 7 years the king ordered the creation of padrones where the population was classified either as hidalgos nobles, and therefore exempt from taxation due to the military status of petros who composed the Estado Llano and were excluded from military service and had to pay taxes. These padrones constitute nowadays a source of information about population genealogy and distribution as well as proof of nobility in certain cases. Over the years the title lost its significance, especially in Spain. Kings routinely awarded the title in exchange for personal favors. By the time of the reign of the House of Bourbon, over 500,000 people enjoyed tax exemptions, putting tremendous strain on the royal state, which wasn't calling the services to arms but relied more on professional armies and costly mercenaries. Attempts were made to reform the title, and by the early 19th century, with the forced levies to military service of all citizens by universal conscription without any minimum requirements of nobility or pay or loyalty by honor but by coercion on desertion, it had entirely disappeared. Along with the social class it had originally signified and most of its centuries-old developed code of honor in the nation's social culture, by some twist of policies but agenda clearly copied from the French state. All hidalgos have been lumped with petros, but all citizens have not become hidalgos by any stretch of social rights or privileges, but were still forced to pay in both taxes and blood risks. Both social estates of the realm have become undivided and forced to add to the nation contributions in both manners without exemption, while the title nobility and royalty kept the former privileges and exemptions. The Basques and universal nobility. In the 16th century, the local charters provided the natives of the Basque country with automatic status as hidalgos, giving them access to military and administrative careers. The reason for this was that, unlike other regions of Spain, they were considered to have no Moorish or Jewish origins. Unlike other hidalgos who refused manual work as contrary to their honor, Basque universal gentry extended to the lowliest native worker. Bibliography. Claude Dietrich Friedman in the Visigothic Kingdom, in Edward James, Visigothic Spain. New Approaches. Oxford University Press, pp. 159-188, ISBN 0-19822543-1. Mackay, Angus, Spain in the Middle Ages. From Frontier to Empire, 1000 to 1500, New York. St. Martin's Press, ISBN 0-312-74978-3. Menende Bidal, Ramon, La España del Cid, Madrid, Espasa Calp. Perez de Tudela y Velasco, M. Infanzones y Caballeros, Suprayección en la Esfera Nobiliaria Castellano-Leonesa, Madrid. Sánchez Albornoz, Claudio, España y el feudalismo carolingio, Estudios sobre las instituciones medievales españolas, Serie de Historia General. Mexico, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, Instituto de Investigaciones Históricas, OCLC 951198. Suárez Fernández, Luis, Historia de España, Edad Media, Madrid, Editorial Grados, OCLC 270090. Thompson, E. A. The Goths in Spain, Oxford, Clarendon Press, ISBN 9780198142713.